disappear with one stretching one's hand to touch the other. What I wanted to tell you is the movies that Swadesh Sahib spoke about, which have endured, which have lingered in your minds, were made from my own personal journey, from my own wounds. Because I had the courage to face my humanity, to see my failures. It's only when you confront your darkness, only when you see your demons, that you have a chance of going towards light. So Daddy, which was born out of my personal experience of life, I had a very destructive relationship with alcohol. I became very successful, and nothing fails like success. When you get successful, you get empty, and the world gives you all the money and all the bandwidth to get away with that success and do what things they wouldn't allow normal, simple people to do. And the same nauseating drama played out with me. And this very bright young filmmaker who made his foray with Arth and Saransh, Naam, was spiraling down into the quagmire of alcoholism. And one day, and then one day, as dawn broke and I opened my eyes, I found myself sleeping on the pavement of Juhu Ville Parla Street. What had happened to this very bright filmmaker? I do not know from which party I came. I do not know what had happened. But I was there on the street, dressed up like we dress up, but there on the street, and the sun was coming up, and I remember there was a voice that thundered in my heart and said, Mahesh Bhatt, you have become an alcoholic. A drunk is not a person who begs on the street. A drunk is a successful man who people applaud. But the fact is, you are lying on the street at this hour. You don't know from where you came. Your wife and your children are waiting at home. This is the end of the road. But by looking at that darkness in the eye, by staring at it and not hiding from what it was reflecting to me, I began the journey towards sobriety. I remember when my child, Pooja's little sister, was born, I was still drinking. And I remember when the baby came home, I got this feeling that the baby, when I carried the baby in my arm, she turned her face away. That rejection of the little baby snapped something in me. Ladies and gentlemen, 30 years since then, I have not touched a drop of alcohol. So, if a person like me can go into the heart of darkness and come back, so can you or anyone out there. There's nothing extraordinary about people like us who belong to the movie world. We are flesh and blood people. You cut us, we bleed. You flatter us, we smile. You hurt us, we cry. We are scared, we dream. That's what joins us. And that's what we bring to our movies. So, I think what Swadesh Sahib said, let us in this age and time where everything is being demystified, let us not create people where people are larger than life. Enough of that nonsense where people will stand on a podium and show that they are something extraordinary, different from you. They are not. The greatest sages of mankind, the greatest sages of India sat down in the marketplace and said, we are like you. And all art which survives, celebrates the common factors that exist between you and us. From that, Daddy was born. Daddy became a phenomenal success. Everywhere I went, people spoke over the years. But the tragedy was that my daughter, who played the role of a child who frees her father from alcoholism, one day became the victim of that same monster called alcohol. From there, my story ends and her story begins. So here, there was a maker who makes a film where he takes his own daughter to play the role of a child who frees the father from that monster. And years later, the child who becomes a star herself spirals into the abyss of darkness. And then how she pulls herself out is her story. So there are two people here, father and daughter, standing in flesh and blood, right in front of you, as simple people whom you can touch and feel. And we are here to share our frailties and our strength and say, if you have a problem, if she can do it, I can do it. That's it. Thank you.
There's a dialogue. Can you hear me? Yes. There's a dialogue in Daddy where the child, the daughter rather, goes to the hospital room when her father tries to commit suicide. And she tells him there are easier ways to kill yourself instead of drowning in a bottle. Why don't you just go and jump out of this window instead? And then she tells her father, she says, it is not only the right of the parent to be proud of its child, it is also the right of the child to be proud of its parent. And I am so proud of this man. Not because he's a great filmmaker, because he can stand here in front of you and say, I've been sober for 30 years, and that elicits a response that is larger than any sort of body of work can. Yes, life is stranger than fiction, and the girl who who actually saved her father from the jaws of alcohol and destruction found herself on that same precipice. But I don't look at that as a tragedy, Bhatsab. I look at that as a chance to live life again. I look at that as my chance to be reborn. Going through that fire has made me come out and made me sparkle and brought me all new and made me able to look in life in the eye in a manner that you taught me to. When I was born, you were a struggling individual who had nothing to give me. You weren't rich, we came from a very humble background, but you sat on the parapet of Silver Sands, drank 3 beers, and wrote me a letter. In that letter you said that your mother brought me luck, some say you will, and you are the only reality. You are a heartbeat of the unfathomed universe. And you shall have everything I want for you and more. On top of that letter you wrote, and you quoted Swami Vivekananda, and you said, be truthful and be fearless, because you are part of divinity and not a sin. I finally can say that I lived those lines because I was able to look at my frailties in the eye, tell myself that, hey Pooja Bhatt, you say that you'll never be dependent on a man, you'll never be dependent on fame, you'll never be dependent on praise, and you're dependent on a bottle? Shame on you. So I got up and I kicked that bottle right in its eye, and I stand here in front of you because I feel alcoholism, sobriety, ek mard ki jaagir nahi hai. Why does society give men the opportunity to talk about their frailties and their darkness and their recovery? I want to hear women take away that word shame from their books. Whether it comes to abuse, whether it comes to rape, whether it comes to your husband or your lovers beating you and you putting makeup on to cover your black eye, or it talks about your frailty where you hide yourself in a bottle to escape the pain of your life. We look at people and say, why are you an addict? No. Look at them and say, why are you in pain? I was in pain. My marriage ended. I didn't give myself a chance to mourn. I was married to a very decent man. I ended it on my terms. And then I became dependent on the bottle. And one day my father was going on a holiday to Maldives, and we were talking about the state of the country and about leaders who forget that there have been many before them and shall be many after. And we agreed on something, and he signed off saying, I love you, kid. And I said, I love you too, Pops. I call him Pops. And I added that, actually you're the only thing that's worth loving for me in this universe. He sent me a message that changed my life. He said, if you love me, then love yourself, because I live in you. And in that message, in those words, in the gaps between those words, I heard a father telling his daughter, pick yourself up and be the best you. And that is the day I decided that I'm going to be the best me possible. And part of becoming that best me was first giving up my addiction on everything. And giving up alcohol has put so many things in perspective. Today I can actually live another line from my film Tamanna, which says, Jannat ek aur hai jo mard ke pehlu mein nahi. I walk on my own terms, I live on my own terms. I could drink most men under the table. I'm my father's daughter. I drank like I lived copiously and fully. But like he said, an alcoholic is not somebody who's lying in a gutter. An alcoholic was me. An alcoholic can be you. So if I could do it, so can you. And I don't want to be a role model in that sense. I'm not here to preach to you and wean you off your bottle or your whatever you are dependent on, whether it's love, whether it's power, whether it's fame, whether it's money. All I want to do is share my frailties with the world, share my journey, and if somebody out there can look at me and say, hey, if she could do it, so can I, then it's a life that has been lived fully, and it's a life that adds up something. So women especially need to talk about it more. Women especially need to seek help more, because there is help available. We live in a culture, we live in a society that tells us to brush things under the table, and we need to stop that. You taught me that we are what we hide. Well, what are you hiding is something that you know. Hold your darkness to the light. You'll be amazed with the results. Amazed. Thank you. And if there are any questions, let's hear them.
And I think in this age and time, I'm very happy that in Chandigarh, Punjab, in Punjab, you're beginning real conversation. I would like to talk to people beyond the tabloids, beyond the television screen, not with my PR machinery in between. We are human beings, damn it. We have to look into each other's eyes and hold each other's hand and walk on this journey of life. Because we are going through a global despair. Either we all make it together or none of us makes it together. So in this age and time, where there are fake news and leaders bullshitting and lying to you about the glory that we are, it's great that you have started a culture where you talk about things as you are. Because as Pooja said, I always say that you are what you hide, not what you show. And you can lie to the whole world. Don't lie to yourself. Because nations and individuals that lie to themselves head towards disaster. All the sages and seers of the world have said there is no progress possible if there is inner darkness. You cannot eliminate the darkness by lighting up every village. What about the darkness inside? We will have to deal with the darkness inside, and we as human beings stand here locking eyes with our inner darkness, because that darkness is what makes us human. So we are no role models, as Pooja said. We do not come from the magic world of cinema where we are made of different stuff. We bleed, we cry, we suffer, we are lonely, and we somehow plod through life holding each other's hand. Come join us on this journey and we'll make it a memorable one. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to add 30 years sober, 500 days sober. Someday I'll stand in front of you and say 30 years sober. Thank you. Love you.
I got goosebumps. It was so beautiful.
I don't think there are any questions anymore.